with this kind of construction where you can keep the existing frame and build up, you get to have the benefits of a grandfathered building code. So I'm able to hit my energy standards and the R value that I need in these walls by keeping these walls and putting spray foam up. My background, I'm Jayden. My background is in energy conservation. I've been doing energy modeling and energy design for multifamily for the last 15 years. I started out working with Tridel, Minto, Brookfield, helping them design and energy model large multifamily. During COVID, they shut our companies out of working in the towers, so we started buying single family homes and we started converting these single family homes to multiplex. Made a lot of sense because the city of Toronto was amending some bylaws and some policies, and we'll get into that. But yeah, so I've spent the last couple of years developing a number of these projects and properties in the city of Toronto. I'm an East York boy. All of our projects are right here, and this is kind of how I've cut my teeth in the multiplex space. So again, it's my background. I don't know everything, but I'll share with you what I do know. There's 3 or 4 main people that attend these events. There's people that need my help with energy modeling and how to get the max points in that CMHC program. There's people that want to partner with me on these projects and become a partner in a limited capacity. There's people that own properties and want to learn how to do this on their own. And then there's people that just want to start from scratch, need full turnkey consulting on where to buy, and how to convert it. So,
there's a fifth. There are meetup junkies who just come and hang out and never actually do anything. So let's not try to be one of those, okay?
Yeah, nobody's in the room. So so that's my background. That's my little intro. I'll turn it over to the boys here because I know that their ecosystem is also very present here today. So
actually, that's a good question. So my name's Matt. Ming and I we run Volition Properties. Just by a show of hands, how many people saw this on meetup.com? Oh, see? It's not that many. Is that really? That's... Okay. How many people are found out about this because they're on Jayden's mailing list?
Yeah, or I post a lot on Laneway Suites.
Yeah, or through Jayden's posts or through his channels. Yeah? Where's just...
Yeah, guys, fill in, please.
Yeah, come in.
You guys may get a better view.
Just humor me. Where else are other people coming from? How did you find out about this? Shout it out. Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook.
Oh, Volition mailing list.
Volition mailing list. Sorry? Garden House group. Okay, so that's Facebook, though, right? Yeah, Facebook group. Okay. Any others? Any other big ones? This just helps us understand where you guys are coming from. Sorry? Meetup? Meetup.com? Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Well,
yeah, so thanks a lot for the introduction, Jayden. You can think of what Jayden does and what Volition does. There's a very nice synergy between the two. We sit more at the front end of things. So, as you're trying to figure out exactly how to tackle real estate investing, you're looking for advisory on that. We offer that service. And we help people buy the properties to do these kind of conversions. Once you've got something like this, what Jayden does falls very nicely into this. We actually have a whole bunch of clients who are both clients of Volition as well as Jayden's company. And we actually started talking to each other because our clients were already working with both of us. And then we're like, oh, we probably have something here, so we should hold a meetup together. So that's why we've got tonight. Team members of Volition, you could just raise your hand so people know. Yeah. Most of us were wearing the hats. If you guys are interested afterwards in learning more about what we do, you're interested in getting an investment property, doing something like this, reach out to any of the guys who have their hands up. We'll take your information. We can set up a meeting. Very quickly then, let's see what else I got here. So usually during our meetups, I give a bit of a market update of what's happening in the market. Do you guys want to spend a couple of minutes on that? Are you guys familiar with what's going on? Yeah? Okay, so very quickly, we're going through a transitionary period right now. So what's been happening is Been very quiet on both the single-family side as well as the multifamily side up until about summer, late summer. And then after the last rate drop, just before the last rate drop, we saw a big spike in sales activity. So this in particular is on single-family homes within the city. So if you have a nice single-family home, nicely renovated, you are getting multiple offers right now. You know, if you have an open house, you're getting like 40 people coming through. So it's highly competitive again for those kind of turnkey nice properties. Most of us here are investors though, and that hasn't caught up to the investor market yet, right? So if you are looking at triplexes, fourplexes, there's still not a ton of demand for those. The theory, our working theory behind it, is that most people who are acquiring these kind of investment properties, they're borrowing their money for their down payments, right? They're getting it from a HELOC, so those are pretty expensive still, right? Only come down 1%. You're still paying, prime plus one or whatever it is on your HELOC. So it's not quite advantageous yet for those investors to come back. That said, our group of investors, so a lot of the folks here who follow Volition, it's been very active for us because I think a lot of, the people who follow what we do, they're a little bit more sophisticated, right? So they're trying to get ahead of that. So we've had a very, very busy fall, kind of a late fall. So that's kind of what's happening in the market. Oh, condos. Sorry, guys. It's terrible. It's terrible, and it's going to continue being terrible for a while. Absorption rates for condos are still historically low. So if you are a condo investor, that means you haven't been listening to us. But if you are a condo investor currently, it's going to take a little while. I don't expect a market turnaround until earliest spring. But there's so much inventory coming on, I'd be surprised if it happens then. So that's us at a high level. Any questions before we flip it over to the presentation?
Can you guys all hear us in the back? Yeah? Ah, good acoustics.
Great acoustics.
Good job.
Great acoustics.
Cool. Let's
Yeah, sure.
Let's do this.
Okay. Again, I don't have a button-down itinerary for this thing. So on a very high level, I've been investing specifically in this neighborhood in Toronto since 2012, and I found returns just weren't what they needed to be. There was no cash flow in buying condos anymore, I'd say after 2017. So a lot of questions I usually get are, when I'm bringing in money, especially from Americans or partners from different parts of Canada, why Toronto? I heard that Toronto's tapped out, right? I heard it doesn't make sense to invest in Toronto. Toronto's a AAA market. The rents are incredibly high. But up until very recently, it didn't make sense to develop these things by virtue of a few different factors. Number one, development charges. So right now in the city of Toronto, they'll charge you $45,000 for adding an additional unit. So if you are converting a single family home to a 5-unit, traditionally that could run you anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000 in development charges.
And 45 grand are those one bedrooms? I heard that they're like 60 grand for a two bedrooms.
Yeah, and I mean that price has gone up 50%, right? So it's insanely expensive to develop in the city of Toronto traditionally. Two, we've all heard the expression time is money. It has not been an easy process to be able to get permits. There's a lot of red tape involved converting a single family home to a multiplex. If anybody's aware of the new multiplex bylaws that have passed, it now allows developers such as myself to buy a single family home and usually attain a permit within 4 to 6 months. So they've shortened that development timeline significantly. So those are two of the major factors at play here that have allowed this to now be a profitable venture for real estate investors and real estate developers. Now the third thing that I usually find is the icing on the cake that's the most complicated part of this entire process is the financing. I probably field about 10 phone calls a day on how do you get financing to buy, how do you get financing to develop and for construction, and then what's my term loan going to look like afterwards. So as we all know, we are in a housing crisis in Canada, and the federal government has tried to spur development by removing and incentivizing developers, removing a lot of the red tape, incentivizing developers with financing benefits. Has everybody heard about the MLI Select program? Yeah. Has anybody ever used the product before? Yeah. So, product offered by the federal government, and what the federal government has said, they said, if you are willing to commit to these 3 social factors, we will incentivize you with a longer amortization period, lower interest rates, lower debt requirements, and a higher loan to value, right? So like, look, I don't have a background in real estate, so like I'm not trained in real estate, so I'll just break it down to you in layman's terms. It essentially means that your monthly carrying cost gets cut in half. So when I build something like this, if let's just say my mortgage was $1, it's now 50 cents by virtue of me building green. So I'm going to go back to those three things that are important. The City of Toronto and the federal government want to see affordable housing, they want to see accessible housing, and they want to see energy efficient housing. My background being in energy efficiency, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to put some of the stuff that I practiced for the last 10 or 15 years into play. So part of what I'm going to talk about tonight is how to build energy efficient homes. I can talk about a little bit about the added costs and then the benefits. But usually what I'm telling people when I consult on the energy efficiency side of things is you can't afford not to build green. You simply can't afford not to. If you look at what it would cost to build a multifamily and just build it to standard Ontario building code or national building code versus to build energy efficient, the benefits far outweigh the cost. So, you know, if you look around here, you're looking at a building with exposed brick. These are 8-foot ceilings here. And I'll tell you what we do to make this building energy efficient. So this building got the full 100 points in the MLI Select program. By virtue of those 100 points, we have a construction financing rate of 6%. We have a 95% loan to cost access to those funds. Once it's built, we have a 50-year AM. So without that product, I'm telling you right now, after having developed a few of these things, it doesn't make a lot of financial sense to build these. So it's so important to make sure that you're building these things with energy efficiency in mind. Now, I'll also say the underwriting of these deals is harmed when you try to incorporate affordable housing and accessibility. And I hate saying that, but the City of Toronto, the land is so expensive that I'm typically advising a lot of my clients, let's just focus on the energy efficiency. We have some consultants on our team that can help you with accessibility if you'd like to go down that route, but you know, at any rate, you're in a building right now that is mainly focused just on energy efficiency.
Do you want to touch on quickly what accessibility and what affordability means and how it impacts the building?
Yeah. So again, they're not my disciplines, but if you were to build an affordable house, I believe it has to be 30% of the median income in that neighborhood. I believe.
So when we were doing the calculations on a 4+1 like this, it effectively meant one of the units you had to rent at like, what was it, $1,300?
Yeah.
1,300,
1,350.
10 years too.
10 years.
It's a 10-year commitment. Yeah,
10 years.
yeah, with like annual reporting requirements too.
So like that completely nukes your business model. It won't work, right? I hate to like
Yeah.
Jayden said, hate to say it, but you're not incentivized to do so. So yes.
The only way to get around that is to build something that doesn't count size. You could build like a shoebox.
Like
Yeah.
a
Right?
micro
Like
a
it's
micro
It's
$1,300, whether it's 5 bedrooms or 1 bedroom. They don't even take that into account.
but then you're gonna pay DCs on that 6th unit because you need the 5.
ADCs on the whole thing.
Yeah,
Just
they'll claw back the whole
six.
thing.
Um,
I guess the other caveat is that I'm a Toronto guy. So like, is everybody here focused on the City of Toronto? Does anybody want to build outside of Toronto? Here, right? You could make some of these numbers work outside of Toronto, right? The land is so expensive here in the City of Toronto that we only focus on the energy. So over the last 12 months, I've done just under 400 CMHC applications. So that's what I do 9 to 5. I do people's CMHC applications so that they can get the financing.
and then yeah,
Oh,
Justin.
sorry, Jayden. So since my understanding, since June 15th, so the stream of energy efficiency was 100 points and is now down to 50 points.
Yeah.
So obviously this project, I think you just went down that stream and you maximize if you have a 50-year
Yeah.
AM. So how are you looking at these going forward now if you cannot get the same benefits prior to June 15th?
Yeah, so did everybody get that question?
Yeah.
So that federal program I was just talking about, they made an amendment to that June 19th of this year. And they essentially said you can no longer earn the full 100 points by just doing energy alone. You have to incorporate efficiency and affordability if you want the full 100 points. However, you can still earn 50 points, which gets you into the program. You still have access to 95% loan to value. You still have the same interest rate, 1.1 DSCR. The only difference is your AM period drops from 50 to 40. So how are we underwriting it now?
Yeah.
It changes the loan amount and it changes the equity that we need to keep in the deal.
The premium's a little more expensive too, right? The CMHC premium.
With the 50 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
'cause
think it
you're
goes from
level one.
5.8 to 3.8 is
Yeah.
50, and then it's like 2.8 for 100. So, yeah, the insurance premium will be 1 point more expensive on the loan. But I'm happy to say, you know, like I have developed them, and they do still work with just 50 points.
You're just looking more money.
One question. When you say accessibility, can you just throw some light? What do you mean by accessibility? It has to be a main road, or what do you mean by accessibility?
I'm going to be honest with you. I cracked open that document on a flight home one time, like a 7-hour flight, and like it has everything to do with braille on the walls, fluorescent lights. They're run down the carpets. Obviously, the diameter of doors. It's like accessibility is. I don't know how I.
Accessibility.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
The doors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
accessibility. Corridor, those
I thought the
staircases.
accessibility of the house where you want.
No, it's like wheelchair
Disabled.
access and
Yeah.
things like that. So ramps
Yeah.
and things like that. So you also have to remember this CMHC MLI Select program is not specifically designed for 4+1s, which means some of the stuff still makes a lot of sense if you're building big apartment buildings, for example, and accessibility requirements can be handled through elevators, which you'd probably have anyway, things like that, right? So we're strictly talking and speaking from this perspective of 4+1s right now. So I just want to preface that, like this stuff exists for a reason. It may not suit us in our needs and what we're trying to develop, but it exists for a reason, and those reasons are for bigger developers who are doing bigger stuff. Yes?
Just to say, by adding one unit that's accessible, you can access 45-year ham versus 40. So if your basement apartment had a wheelchair access.
No, I think the entire building has to be accessible.
So there's two types. There's two levels of accessibility. They're both two standards organizations. So in the MLI Select program, it calls out two standards organizations that you would need approval from to say that your building is accessible. The gap in all our knowledge and the community, because we haven't come to figure this out, is how we attain that standard. Right? My wife's a commercial interior designer. I know you are as well. Usually when you do commercial interior design, it's clear as to what requirements you need to hit accessibility. You must have a ramp that's no greater than certain rise and run, right? You need a turning radius. You need grab bars. So when you're designing for commercial, it's pretty clear. But the MLI Select is not a program to tell you how to achieve accessibility. They're just saying you need to get approval from these people. And that document Jayden's talking about, I've also cracked it open to try to figure it out. It just lists everything. So like your staircase has to have a certain amount of friction on the steps, so that way they're non-slip. You name it, they've got an accessible suggestion, but they're not telling you of the thousands of things you could do, what you need to be certified under those two programs, right?
Yes.
So is your accessibility, does that mean very free?
Yes.
But the building code only talk about very free.
It does to a certain extent, right?
But
So like barrier free, is a switch.
Repeat the question.
Yeah. So the question is, doesn't the building code already specify barrier free? Yes and no, right?
The building code doesn't need very free for fourplex.
It doesn't, but we're talking about qualification for the MLI Select program to get additional points.
That's why.
Yeah, so to get more points, because you only have 50 now under the energy audit portion. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, if anybody figures it out, please let us know, because there's a whole community of us trying to crack the code on it right now.
Come on, Karen.
We're not quite there.
It's one. When we were looking for our project, I think one unit had to be wheelchair accessible, and the millwork in the kitchen, for example, had to be convertible to cater to someone
the paint
if they
colors
needed a
also.
wheelchair and like paint
Yeah.
color contrast and braille. The other units, I think, just had to be
Visitable.
visitable. That's a whole other thing.
So this
It's
is
a
a
business
couple
opportunity
here.
for you.
Yeah.
Is this
Right?
requirement from building code or from somewhere else? Not
It's
from
from
building.
the, was it Rick Hansen?
Yeah, Rick Hansen's. Yeah.
So we talked to a specialist who deals with Rick Hansen, the foundation, and I think they were trying to figure out what visitable was exactly, and he went
They
back
don't
to them,
know.
and they're like, well, you gotta ask your local professional. He's like, I am the local professional. He's like, I'm getting it from my clients. And he's like, well,
Yeah.
sorry, you gotta check your local professional. He's like,
Yeah, it's a gray area.
Excuse
I
me,
think
so
for the
this-
purposes of sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me, you guys get a building permit. Then you get a building permit, you can start a construction job.
Yep.
But the building permit already comply with the Ontario Building Code.
Correct, but that has nothing to do with
Does not
the.
lead to the
We're talking about
We're talking
financing.
about financing. So if you're going to get qualify for the MLI Select program,
financing.
MLI Select, just so we're clear, MLI Select is a CMHC program, and CMHC is the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, who insures loans. So you might be familiar with it in a different format. I'm a young professional, fresh out of university, started my career, and I want to buy my first condo, and I want to put 5% down, right? That's what CMHC is. Because everyone knows you normally need 20% down, so how the hell do I put 5% down? That's where CMHC comes in. CMHC will insure your loan, meaning that you can put as low as 5% down under certain circumstances. 5% of the first 500,000, and then 10% on the 500,000 above that, right? So that's what CMHC is. That's what most people are familiar with. And for that privilege, you pay a CMHC premium that gets added to your mortgage. So your mortgage goes up by $30 or $50 or whatever it is a month. What Jayden's talking about is the CMHC MLI Select program, and it's specifically designed to try to incentivize builders and developers to add more housing, right? So that's why we're strictly talking about this from a financing perspective. Financing plays a huge role in this. And I don't know if you caught what Jayden said, so I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to emphasize it. Without MLI Select, this doesn't make sense anymore, right? So that's why this is really important. This is why we're talking about financing so much. You guys are probably here going, hey, I want to see, what paint colors and layouts and flooring. Don't worry about that stuff. That stuff, you get an architect, get a designer, that's fine. That stuff you can work yourself out, right? And we've built triplexes, converted triplexes, fourplexes up the yin yang for years. That's not the hard part. The hard part is the financing. Every investor either has run out of capital and mortgage qualification, or they will run out of capital and mortgage qualification, right? And capital you can solve. Capital is really easy. You just raise money. It sounds really easy, but you just raise money. You get a fancy presentation like Jayden's here. But the reality is you can find money partners. People who want to invest in real estate, people who want to develop these types of properties just don't know how to make it work. Raising capital is not the hard part. The financing is the hard part. The financing is the linchpin that makes this whole thing work. So I just want to emphasize that point, and that's why Jayden's really emphasizing and going deep into this whole what does 50 points mean? What does 100 points mean? We're not just talking about this because we're interested in it or we find reading accessibility requirements a fun read on a 7-hour plane ride. It's because literally this is what will make or break your business model. Cool? Does that land for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Can you please break down, you mentioned 45% qualification for MLI under energy audit program.
Yeah.
Can you just break down, and you don't need to go to accessibility, we know we won't get that, but can you break down how many percent you need in order to get CMHC MLI, and at what percentage loan to value? Please, thank you.
Yeah, I think I understand your question. So to summarize, how I get the insurance for this loan is I have to build over a certain energy standard. There's a national building code that was designed in 2017. You need to build 40% more efficient. So there's a lot of energy measures that we use on our developments to hit that threshold. We focus on domestic hot water. We focus on heating and air conditioning. We focus on building envelope. We focus on low flow shower heads and water fixtures, LED lighting throughout. And by manipulating or kind of pulling on those 4 or 5 levers, we found the cheapest way to build an energy efficient building. So to answer your question, 40% above building code allows you 50 points in the program, which gives you all of those favorable financing terms.
Can you repeat it slowly?
We can do this afterwards.
Okay.
I'm going to move on.
Requirements, sorry, is it like more than the requirements for SB10 of what like
The energy?
Yes.
The energy? It's 40% above national building code.
Because for the Ontario, we work with SB10.
Yeah, so like, listen, Ontario has a different building code than we need to meet. So from a design standpoint, when we're building this, we follow the OBC. For financing, we follow the NBC, right? So, and it's just, we're just focusing on, kilowatt hours, cubic meter of natural gas, and cubic meter of water. So it's a little bit of a nuanced program in that respect, but I think what I'd like to highlight is that across our developments, we seem to have come up with the blueprint to date, and it works, right? So to date, I've developed 4 projects. Some have qualified for the full 100 points under the old program, and my most recent 2 have qualified for the maximum allowable points under the new program. To be honest with you, we could talk about that for hours. It's a bit of the wild, wild west right now. My background and how I think I can help a lot of people in this room is doing your application for you, doing your energy compliance report for your developments.
Is there a minimum size? Like, can I do a duplex conversion? For
Yeah,
this
okay,
market,
sorry, I wanted to say that. The other requirement for building, or for getting this kind of financing, is you have to have minimum 5 units. Minimum 5 units. It's not considered a commercial development till they hit 5 units.
The reason we do the reason you hear 4+1, right, is that in the city of Toronto right now, you're allowed to build up to 4 units as of right, which means you don't have to go through committee of adjustments, get special permits to get 4, and then you're also allowed to build laneways and garden suites as of right. So it's a nice as of right way to be able to get to 5 units to have you commercial, so therefore you qualify for CMHC programs.
And if the whole building was 5 units, then it's commercial, right?
Yes, but then you wouldn't be DC exempt, right? So this is like this one very specific model that only applies to Toronto.
And one of the reasons it's interesting is because this works on normal residential lots.
Yeah.
You don't need to assemble an entire strip of Bathurst or College or whatever, right? 6, 7, 8 lots to do some massive development to make this work. You can do this on normal residential lots. That's not saying every residential lot is a good candidate. That's completely different. But what we're saying is it really opens the door up to smaller developers, mom and pop type developers, to be able to step up into the bigger leagues where we can access things like commercial, 5 units and above. It's considered commercial financing. Typically, commercial financing won't, like, normal commercial financing does not work on like 5 units or 6 units. Like, it's too small. You don't have the economies of scale. This is a unique, very unique way to be able to make 5 units work, and therefore you can start doing them on normal residential lots, right? That's why this is such a special program. One thing I don't know is, do you have any idea, like, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like the longevity of this program, how long it's going to be around? I'm really getting ahead of myself.
You never know.
That's
a good answer. That's a good answer, because how many people were expecting June's amendment?
There was a couple of days.
They give us like 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
They gave us 3 weeks. I think,
and then some people found out. Like,
I'm backdating it from the HST rebate that's supposed to expire in 2030. I think that there's going to be another 5-year run on this, but who's to say, right? So if everybody's intention, and I don't know what it is in this room, if everyone's intention is to try to develop these things, I think it's important to realize you can't do it alone. You're going to need a good team behind you. Whether it's these guys up here in an advisory capacity, my real estate lawyers in the back Phil, put your hand up. You need a really, really good real estate lawyer. You're going to need a great architect that understands his space. You need a CMHC expert. You need an energy modeler, and you need a really good GC. And I would recommend having a GC that's local to your property. Does anybody have a property in this room that they think could be converted to a 4+1? Anybody on the East York, on the east side of Toronto? Yeah? Okay. I mean, that's my 2 cents. My 2 cents is I wouldn't be able to develop these at scale or as fast as I'm doing it without the proper team. It's allowed me to shave many, many months, if not years, off the development. It's a bit of a moving target too. Like the CMHC is a bit of a moving target. I'd be happy to share with you guys some of the numbers here. But to a lot of the stuff that we've talked about tonight, for the first time in a very, very long time, these numbers are working.
Yeah, like it's a very, very unique situation where all these stars are aligning. Toronto has changed its bylaws and legislation to allow these to be built. The financing has fallen into place. Like it's
HST being waived.
DCs, there's a whole bunch of stuff that is all aligning right now. So that's what I'm saying.
Don't jinx it. Don't say it.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
So there is no committee of adjustment through the
No.
Well, if you're going to committee, committee, it's for
other stuff.
you want extra height or you want extra length. Yeah, those kind of bylaws, but not for the 4 units, not for the laneway.
And is it like for just renting, right?
Yes. These are rentals.
It's not for ownership, like it can't sell.
Yeah.
So can you exit through condominiumization? Potentially. So there are projects that have exited this through condominiumization, but you may have challenges on financing if you are exiting through condominiumization.
So, on the condominiumization side, it's a interesting topic.
We had a meetup about 2 weeks ago.
So we had a meetup about condominiumization 2 weeks ago, and only 10 of you guys showed the hell up. So.
And it was a good one.
Anyway, to answer your question, so tonight we're landing on Taylor Swiftie night. 2 weeks ago we landed on election night. So we have really good timing. I know we sure know how to pick them. To answer your question, if you're looking at condominiumization, you're going to run into a challenge with CMHC MLI Select financing because this financing is solely focused on the creation of housing units to be rented out. So we're talking rental units. So if you're going to exit through condominiumization, MLI Select they're not going to just give you the money, give you the construction financing.
Right?
Yeah, you might not need it either because your business model is different. You're not holding over the long term, and you want to develop it and then condominiumize. Do you know what condominiumization means? Build 4+1 like you're doing here. Not too much different necessarily. You separately title each one, just like a condo. There'll be condo declaration, condo bylaws, reserve fund, all that stuff. Again, you need a really good lawyer for that. And then you sell them all off individually. Yes?
Yeah, when I say it works, the model works, I mean that when it's all said and done, it's a cash flowing multifamily product that you'll have in Toronto. It's new construction. It's not bound by rental rate increases. Everything in this is going to have a 10-year warranty on it. And I'm usually able to recover a good percentage of the capital that I put in to buy the land and to build the 4+1. So that's what I mean by saying it works. It's cash flow positive. It services the debt and it puts a little bit of money in our pocket at the end of the day, which has not been able to be achieved in the city of Toronto, in my opinion, since 2017, from an investment standpoint.
Yeah.
That's Zane, right? I recognize the voice. Yeah.
The numbers on this project that you're standing in right now, and I should preface what I'm about to say by all of our numbers had to be verified by a third party. So when you deal with the federal government on an insured loan, you have a lot of checks and balances in place, right? So we had a third party appraisal company, cost consultant, quantity surveyor. They ripped through our pro forma. I believe the numbers, They're in a deck here that I can share with you. I think it's about $250,000 a year in gross NOI, 200,000. I think when it's all said and done, you're left with about 40, 50 a year.
Yeah, or I just mean like, are you able to refinance your money?
Oh no! Actually, listen to what.
How much money is
No, but
leaving
listen.
in?
You missed something very key. So talk about construction, the construction financing up front. That's what he's missing.
Sure. So do you want to know the macro numbers on this project?
Yeah, like is it like, like you get back 20% of your money, 50% of your money, 75% of your money?
It depends.
High level.
It depends, right? It depends on construction costs. I'll give you the macro on this project. We bought the land for $1 million. Construction was about 1.5 to 1.7, so we're in for 2.7. We got it appraised at 3.7, and I believe on this project we should be able to take out. We raised 1.2, and I think on this project we should be able to take out in between 45 and 65% of the equity upon stabilization. And then all capital should be returned either through rental proceeds or the second refinance in 5 years.
So what's key? You said refinance. The difference is he got CMHC construction financing up front, which means there's no refinance on the back end. So the beauty of that is that you can go ahead and let's just use traditional financing as an example. You can go through an entire project. You can get put your down payment down, get a normal mortgage. Get construction financing after you get your permits and approvals and everything like that. Construction financing, you have to put down, another 20 or 30, 25%, whatever. And then you get your construction financing, and then you take it in draws, and then you reach the end of the project, and then you refinance, right? And then you refinance. And then you're subject to the actuals in terms of the economic climate, what you actually got in rent, actual building valuation at that point in time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The interesting thing here is all that's done up front. So there's very little guesswork as you go down as you progress through the development and construction. When you get to the end, it just means that you've used up all the money for your construction. So there's no refinance at the end. So you don't have to worry. Oh shit, sorry, there's a baby here. Oh crap, my rents are $100 lower, and we all know what kind of impact that could have on our refi, right? Because of commercial financing, NOI, DCR, interest rates, amortizations, all that stuff. So every few $100 makes a big difference. The beauty of this is that all of that has been figured out up front with the quantitative surveyor and cost consultants and people who are, as he said, ripping through his pro forma and making sure that all of that makes sense. All the T's are dotted, all the T's are
dotted.
T's are crossed. T's are crossed, I's are dotted. So that's a really important distinction, because that means you're not going through the entire development and then crapping your pants at the end, seeing whether you can recover those funds or not, right? So does that make sense? Does that land?
Yeah, it's a little bit listen, I'm not a get rich quick guy. I don't know if anybody is in this room, but that's just not my investment strategy. I position this to our partners as a low risk, medium return investment, and it's backed by real estate. And it's backed by real estate in the city of Toronto. There's a lot of virtues that I really like about it. One being, again, no rent control. Two, it's brand new construction, but it's certainly not a get rich quick plan. And I wouldn't call it low risk, high return investing. But it cash flows. It cash flows in the city of Toronto.
Do they audit after stabilization your rents? Let's say you do come under $200 a unit, you're like, oh crap. How long can you kind of sweep that under the rug for, right? Until do they come back at you, or is it?
Well,
roll the dice. They might not.
You're bound by the 1.1 DSCR, so they'll change your loan amount if your rents are coming in under the forecast. It's nice for our projects. Our rent assumptions are made 2 years prior to it really being built, or at least 16 months.
Right.
Typically, Toronto has performed well. Yeah. It's always a risk. I'm certainly not standing up here and saying this is a zero risk investment.
Jayden,
yeah.
With the change in the CMHC program on the energy efficiency side going from 100 down to 50, What have you changed in terms of your strategy? Have you changed anything?
Yeah, so the question was, with the CMHC change, how have you pivoted? I'll tell you right now, having built a few of these, we have learned how to keep our construction costs lower. We've learned how to focus on lower cost energy conservation measures, and we've had to change our equity debt structure to account for more equity in the deal and a higher minimum equity capacity. So it's a fancy way of saying it's like you got to financially engineer these things a little bit different to keep more of your money in the deal once it's built.
Yeah, but I guess from what you're looking to employ, right, from a conservation perspective, what have you changed specifically there?
Yeah. So again, question is like how have I changed my energy conservation measures to account for my necessity to minimize the cost? Wall assemblies. When you guys start building, this is going to be the most expensive energy measure you have, are the wall assemblies. Historically, we built with an R38 wall system, non-combustible walls, which are super expensive. We've now been able to minimize it down to a R21, R23. If that's too technical for people, it just means my walls are smaller and less expensive. And what we've done is we've tightened up the air tightness. We focus on air source heat pumps, which removes this building's need for natural gas. So this building runs all electric. So we save money on construction that way. LED lighting, the cost has come down, and just cheaper domestic hot water systems. I kind of have a bit of a blueprint that I can share. So like, here's again how I think I can help people in this room. We put this together not because we wanted to sell it and not because we wanted to give it away to people. We put this together because the banks were asking us to put this together for our clients. If you want CMHC construction financing or permanent financing, you need 3 documents. 3 documents. The first, you need an energy model report, and I can help you with that. The second, you need a construction budget. I'd be happy to share mine with you. The third, you need a pro forma. You need some kind of like rental analysis. With those 3 documents, you can submit to CMHC. Well, this is just going to keep going on here. So a lot of the banks give me a lot of business, like RBC and TD and Desjardins, because they need their clients to get commercial financing. So what happened was we kept doing all these friggin' energy models for clients, and they kept coming back to us and saying, our pro forma isn't working. Our construction budget's being rejected by CMHC. So, through 23 different revisions and trial and error, I don't know if we'll have time to go through this all tonight in detail, but we put together this 160-page document that has our actual construction budgets, our pro formas, our appraisal reports, our certificate of insurance from CMHC. So, look, it's a real nuanced program. Having gone through it multiple times, I'm still learning what they need from me. It's such a moving target. It's not easy, but I can tell you it's worth it. So that's one way that I may be able to help people in this room. Again, I know I've touched on it, but I bring in partners for these projects. So on this deal, which I think is really, really cool to highlight, one of the tenants is an owner. One of the tenants is an investor. My real estate lawyer invested. My CMHC expert invested. Our engineers invested. So what it shows me is all the people that look under our hood and rip through all our numbers and our construction policies have underwritten the risk of this deal to invest themselves. So it's a bit of a testament that it can be done properly. Again, it's not a zero risk investment. But if done properly, these things can be a great long-term wealth generating vehicle for you.
I have a quick question about the income, the gross income that you mentioned. I believe I quote 250,000. There are 5 units. I did a quick calculation. It comes to about 2167, let's say, per unit. What size unit are you selling? Because that's quite steep for so to speak, apartment.
So these are 750, and I think our laneway suite's like 1,200.
And you will be asking roughly 4,100 per 750 square foot unit?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. I can share this with you. Let's see. These are the numbers that have been approved by CMHC. Who's that? Who's that in the middle? Garden suite, $3.10. You have your calculator up? I can share this with
Okay,
you.
I'm just curious.
So these are the square or cost per square foot that we're getting per rent. What did I say it was? $250,000?
Yeah.
Closer to about 200. So I was off by a little bit. NOI of 165, and then it goes up. You know, the longer that you own it. There's usually a lot of questions, so I can make myself available in like a one-on-one capacity. I usually only have the bandwidth to work with about 4 or 5 people a month. Otherwise, we just get burnt out.
What do you want to do from here? Like, do you want to? Is there a tour, or is there not a tour?
No, we can't. We can't go upstairs. This is the tour.
Can you break down what you're doing, like how many units on each floor, square footage,
Sure.
and then what's happening with the garden suite?
That's a great suggestion. Okay. So this is a mix of, here's our floor plans. They're all going to be 2-bed, 1-bath. Garden suite, I believe, is also, 2-bed, 1-bath right there. We've raised the floors. If you guys are looking at the walls right here, you guys see these big, beautiful holes where the walls used to be. So we're going to have an 8-foot basement, 8-foot main, 9. This is going to be a 4-unit right here.
Actually, here, talk about why you raised the floors.
So we raised the floors, A, because it's cheaper than underpinning, and B, because it makes the basement appear bigger because your windows are more eye level versus... So
This is a, I'm not going to say cheap, but a less expensive way to get a lot of the same benefit.
Thrifty.
This is the thrifty way. I like that.
It's
I like
the most
that.
efficient
It's
way.
a
It's the most
sophisticated
efficient
way
to do it.
to get a lot of the same benefits as underpinning. We've all heard stories about underpinning, right? And we all know how expensive underpinning is. This is a sophisticated way, or a thrifty way, to get a lot of those same benefits. You still get an 8-foot basement, but we've actually just taken it and stolen it from the other heights of the main floor, and then what do you have on the
9 and 9.
9 and 9.
9 and 9 up there, and
Was it originally
What's
9?
the maximum height allowed?
That's a good question.
Depends on.
That's a good question. Say what?
Guys go to minor variance for the heights?
We didn't on this building. We've had to do it before. The game plan moving forward is just go as of right. Get the building permit within 6 months and just try to build these within like 12 to 18 months. It really depends.
So anyway, one of the questions was, what's the maximum building height? I mean, the answer is it's going to depend on the zoning in your particular area, but 10 meters is where
I think it's just got bumped up to 11.
I think this is like 30. I think this is 30 feet.
It depends on if you have a peak roof or flat roof design. They're gonna change that.
No. It needs some kind of angular plane. I detail it like in a whole chapter. There's like a requirement on angular plane and shading. It's not my strength. I'll tell you that.
So
Permits and planning is not really my strength.
They're coming off next year.
Oh, they are?
Coming off?
Oh, great. Yeah.
What's
Hey,
it?
we're
Angular
crowdsourcing all this
planes?
knowledge. Good
Angular
stuff.
planes.
Yeah, that's good.
That'll be great.
Angular planes. Yeah, I mean, like, look, ideally it'd be really cool to have these things run completely off
We
solar.
have serious angular
Right?
planes in our
Yeah. Especially on the laneways.
Yeah,
So-
the garden suites are.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to go through with regards to the floor plans?
Is there a garden suite plan?
Yeah.
And maybe
there you go.
Jayden, you can touch afterwards on why you decided to do reno as opposed to do a teardown.
Yeah. So our project that we featured last month was like a complete hole in the ground. When you are building new, you're bound by the new Ontario Building Code. I think it's like Part 9, which means all walls have to be non-combustible. And our construction costs were we went over budget. With this kind of construction where you can keep the existing frame and build up, you get to have the benefits of a grandfathered building code. So I'm able to hit my energy standards and the R value that I need in these walls by keeping these walls and putting spray foam up. On new walls, you can't use spray foam because it's not non-combustible. So you'll see like this material that you guys are all standing on right here. These are all the non-combustible wall assemblies or parts of the wall assemblies that we're going to use for like the addition going up. moving forward, I think that this is our business model. I think that we're going to buy homes, keep the existing frame, no excavation, no major additions, and try to work within the confines of this house.
So you fell into part 11,
Yes.
not part 9.
Yeah, well, part 9 and part 11. Those
Oh,
are the,
okay, the
Yeah.
middle parts.
Yeah.
Does this build qualify for Tyrion warranty, or you don't need to give Tyrion if you're not building from scratch up?
It's a good question. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Tyrion's for condos, no?
So Terion would only be if you're It's only if you're reselling it.
Oh.
Because you're not exiting through a condo minimization. If you are, then you might
And
not.
warranties for condos and houses?
But you're not selling it. You're not selling it to somebody else, so there's no warranty to provide. Yeah.
A quick question, guys, on finding the right property and like finding, a house that is suitable for this.
Yep.
How challenging is that there? To get like the 4 units in the one house.
Yep.
Expanding on that there is that good?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know if you can see this right here, but we get into a whole chapter on acquisitions where we talk about the physical criteria of the lot, the rear lane access requirements, distance to the lane's end, tree preservation. We get into like, if you run into a property that has like a certain tree with the trunk diameter, the setbacks that are required, zoning and planning considerations. So we like, yes, there's a lot that goes into it.
I feel like the fourth, the highest apartment would be like the toughest to get, extension going above. Is that something you just run into?
Yeah, I mean
It depends on the property, right? Like if you may be starting with a property with foundations that are big enough and strong enough to support more height. You may be starting off with something like if a home's like Board and Batten, they have very small foundations, right? So you may not be able to top up something like that. You need a good realtor who knows what the hell they're doing.
Yes.
Ourselves. But seriously,
you should take something for that cough.
Yeah. But seriously, you do need somebody who understands this space, because it will absolutely kill you if you buy something and you can't implement these kind of things, right? It kills your business.
And this is why a lot of people who think they've got a property in a good location automatically think, oh, this is a great candidate, right? Oh, I've got a property in wherever, Annex, Little Italy, Trinity Bell Woods, Leslieville, whatever, and immediately they're like, oh yeah, I should do that to my property. Well, no, not necessarily. You've got to go through a lot of these things and make sure, right?
What is the lot size?
I have written down minimum is 120 by 25, I believe.
You said 20. You said 20 here.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we know that 25 is great.
If you can find it.
If you can find
exactly.
it, and you're
We
not
found
killing your.
it.
Yeah.
Wilson. And Wilson. Is he here? He's not here.
He's
Yeah, Wilson's at the back.
Yeah, she's giving a big up to Wilson in the back for finding a 25-foot lot for them. Yeah, so I forgot what I was saying.
Well, no, the importance of like properly planning the acquisition is everything, which is why I've teamed up with these guys. Again, when I met them 2 years ago, I knew that they had like a bona fide track record. You could tell the integrity was there, but pre-planning is ultimately just as important as choosing your GC and executing on the construction. And I think that these guys have that capacity. I know that these guys have that capacity to help in a full turnkey method, which is like a huge value add for my ecosystem, right? So like these are the people that will get you arguably the most important piece of this puzzle, which is the land that you need to do this on.
So I have a question regarding the requirements for parking, like parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that the ratio is getting lower for like any units based on like Toronto's bylaw, like recently, especially if you're close to a station or like new GO train. But how was it solved for here?
Can you just repeat the question?
The question was, how are you getting around parking requirements? Right, they are getting easier within the city, but like, what was done for this particular site for parking requirements?
Yeah, no, not my.
Not required by the zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
So the current requirement is N-1. That still exists, right? So if you have 4 units, you're technically supposed to provide 3 parking spots. But these days, it's a relatively easy variance to get a committee for parking, especially if you're anywhere remotely close to transit these days. The city tends to forgive you. And if you're building a garden suite, that may negate your need for parking at all. So there. Yeah.
So so something you just want to latch onto what Ming was saying is we're not necessarily opposed under the right circumstances to go to committee, because we're asking for very simple variances, and if this is not going to completely nuke our business model and it's not going to completely nuke our timelines, and if it still makes sense, in an ideal world we would always go as of right, not have to ask for permission to build, right? That's the ideal world. But the reality is sometimes those lots just don't exist, or they're not coming up. You could search and search and search and search and search and wait and wait and wait and wait, but time is money. And we want to get started. I mean, you've got MLI Select, that's, all the stars are aligning. I talked about that before, and you don't want to be just waiting. You don't want to be one of those people necessarily. So sometimes we will undertake variances, but variances that make sense. Like I've seen fourplex conversion proposals rejected at committee because they were trying to add like a rooftop terrace to it.
Yeah.
There was one, 21 Lewis, 19 Lewis.
Oh, I remember.
19 Lewis. Go look this one up. This one's fun. 19 Lewis. Location was amazing. It was down. Oh, you guys! It's been a while since I've delivered this presentation, but we delivered a presentation 2 years ago. It was entitled "Toronto's Next Hottest Neighborhood." Ooh. So, anyway, long story short, one of the places we identified was down at East Harbor. So mark my words. Take today's date. Taylor Swift was in town, and Matt said, "Look out for East Harbor." Where's East Harbor? Does anyone know? Justin knows. Yes.
21 Don Roadway.
He's got it down to the.
Oh.
Okay. So, where the DVP meets Gardner, on the east side, there's this giant old Unilever factory, or used to be. They are now converting that into Union Station number 2. Right? Look what runs through there. It's going to be subway, the downtown, not downtown relief line. I'm dating myself. Ontario line. Ontario line's running through there. Via Rail, GO, streetcars, buses. That area is slated to have 50,000 new white-collar jobs, right? And it's a development the size of Yorkdale, near downtown Toronto, right? And it's going to be a Union Station number 2, major transit hub. 19 Lewis, if you look it up, I can see some of you on Google Maps already. 19 Lewis is like a stone throws away from there. So it's it's a great location. They tried to go to like aim for the stars. And they asked for, it was like, God, I think it was like 1,400 square feet per unit. It was like basement, like lower level, main floor. Like they were just trying to, it was a fairly large lot, but they were really stretching it. Their FSI and their density was way off the charts. They wanted to add a rooftop patio. And anyway, if you go look this up, because Committee of Adjustments decisions are public, so you can go look this up, what you'll find is the entire street petitioned and wrote a letter in opposing this proposal. The only person who supported it was across the street, and it was like the president and CEO of Streetcar Developments. So anyway, condo developer, right? CEO or president of the condo developer. Anyway, the point is that like we have to ask for variances that make sense. That was asking for way too much. They got rejected, and I still don't think that project has moved forward. So we don't want to be that, but we want to be very strategic on what we're asking for. But all that starts up front, right?
We phase I'm an echo chamber right now for my business partner. We phase in the units. I think we go 3 and 4 as of right
or
in
you do it
phase.
that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so like DC avoidance is a big thing, guys. If you want to avoid $250,000 in development charges, there's a very specific way to do it. And unfortunately, like I've even had some of my clients get hit with this $200,000 bill, and then we have to do damage control after. But
So then you bring in the basement at the end, the basement, kind of retrofit the basement unit.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
that screws up the new build version because then you're no longer a new build. So it works for this, which is good.
Yeah, I could probably get you the answer on that. Like, is
Yeah.
I haven't worked here for my partner, but
How much left is in your presentation?
the document. I mean,
I want to make sure you get through everything that you.
Yeah,
Because I know
no,
we
I-
need to be out of here by 7, right?
yeah, just for noise. I mean, like if I were to wrap up what I was going to say, I was going to say that I'm more than willing to work with everybody in a one-on-one capacity. Again, I have a bandwidth that I just simply can't go over. How I can help everyone in this room is do their energy modeling documents for their CMHC application. We could talk about potentially partnering up with us on a project, or I could work with you in a consulting capacity if it makes sense. If you're on a good property and you're kind of, if the wheels are in motion. But yeah, this document, unfortunately, like it would probably take us like an hour or two to go through. But this is everything that we've learned in 4 years of doing what we've been doing. There's a lot of battle scar lessons in here. There's a lot of like construction practices that have lost a lot of money on and made a lot of money on. And like in my opinion, everything that anyone would need to know about building, CMHC financing, energy efficiency, all the way down to the HST rebates and how we own these things through the corporate structure that we own these things. That's kind of it.
I mean, this is a good opportunity too, a little bit of a plug. But like, as you can see, Jayden's expertise is very much on construction, energy modeling, CMHC financing, and a lot of it is downstream. And the reason that we work together is because where Volition comes in is we help on the upstream stuff. So anything from advisory meaning teaching you how to invest in real estate, being a mentor, being a coach, trying to help you understand whether or not this is for you or not, right? Whether it's this, could be something else. Maybe it's a smaller project, maybe it's a larger project. Maybe it's you want to optimize your portfolio. Maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe there's something better than my condo. Like, does it make sense to divest my condo right now and get into one? That's the type of stuff, those are the type of questions we help answer during advisory. And we've got the realty, obviously, like we mentioned before. We are investor-focused realtors, which means that we know how to help you find this stuff, right? And as investor-focused realtors, we can do regular realty stuff, and we do regular realty stuff better than most realtors, because that's the easy stuff, actually. So we do a lot of the upstream stuff, property acquisition, business modeling, advisory, consultations, and Jayden helps a lot on the downstream stuff. Is that cool? Did I miss anything?
No, that's it.
Construction company, like, do you guys work with the specific, like,
Yep.
General contractor?
Yeah. Choosing a GC is very important. They need to meet certain requirements in terms of their insurance, the contracts that you sign with them. They need to exercise or at least illustrate a certain level of experience in the background. So I've said it once, I'll say it 100 times. Choosing the right team is the most important thing. You will never learn this on your own. Like, my team is 10 people. These guys, another teammate, again, of mine is back there, my lawyer. Like, all these people are, yeah.
Question? Oh.
How much was the construction, like, cost?
Yeah. It's in here. I think it's like
1.7.
Yeah, he said it up front.
1.7.
Yeah, 1.7. I break it down to a price per square foot. If you reach out to me after, I can send you this deck where we actually get into like the weeds on the numbers and stuff. But
Thank you very much.
oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, you're very
Question?
welcome.
So how much of the existing structure can be intact and still qualify for the CMHC financing?
All of it.
So know you have a detached property, you can keep all of it intact and build on it?
Yeah, that's what.
You just need to show that you're getting your points, right? So you will likely have to do some construction to show that you're improving the energy, right? But that's the requirement, is you're showing energy improvement. But beyond that, you can build an entirely new house, or you can, retrofit something like this.
Did you do a comparison of, you're doing straight CMHC where you're doing a 95% loan to cost from the get-go? So you buy the property, go through the application process, versus buying it residentially or private, and then when you're closer to finish, doing the refinance?
Have I done now?
Did you do the first,
no, I
did CMHC?
Listen, what I do for a living is I do energy modeling for other developers. Yeah. So I have other people's blueprints. I've seen their entire business model. Yeah. But we actually, to answer your question, I haven't gone through the fine-tooth comb. I think that this is the best way to do it, but I might be a little biased. It's also important to note, these developments are all GPLP structure, right? So we have these responsibilities of reporting and when you have individuals, they can go over budgets in certain areas. They don't really do you know what I mean? It's not as important to deliver returns. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
What was the external, and you were saying the external structure for the new development, where it was way too expensive? What were you using for the material?
It's steel. It's steel walls. First of all, it was a bat system.
Did you have to go that route?
You have to. All new construction, steel walls. It's all non-combustible. You can't have infill projects with wooden walls if you start from brand new.
It's weird because they have stick construction on Queens Quay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they built. No, this is the last few years.
Do we want to? Where are we heading after this?
So a couple of things, guys. Just I think we're wrapping up here.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to get a hold of Jayden, what's the best way to do that?
I'm pretty easy to find on the internet. I can give you guys my phone number on the way out of here. But oh shit, there it is right there. Just Google River, Google Jayden, I guess. I don't know. Or don't Google my name. Actually, I'll give you my contact. Yeah, don't Google me. Yeah, that's it. And like I say, I'm happy to answer as many questions as I possibly can, and then
and if any of you guys are interested in talking to us on the Volition side, anybody with their hands up from my team?
Sure.
Yeah. Any of the guys with their hands up there, you can speak with them, speak to myself or Matt directly. We can book some time to chat. Also, afterwards, we are going to get a beer. Right? That's the plan?
If you guys... If this isn't enough real estate for you and you need to talk more real estate...
With some alcohol. We're going over to a Left Field Brewery, which is that way. That way?
Left Field
That
Brewery.
way.
Yeah.
That's south, that's north. So
It's right there.
for any of you who are actual Volition clients, that's where we had our Christmas party
2 years ago.
No way.
Yeah.
I love that place.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Like right down the street from my first house in Toronto.
So we're going to go there, chat a bit more.
I appreciate everybody's time. It's not easy to make your way over here on a Friday night. Seriously, thank you. I mean,
thank you for choosing us over
Taylor Swift.
Taylor.
It's way better.
Yeah.